Hey everybody, welcome to the Slick Tree Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Langford. The point of this show is to help improve ourselves as dogmen and to raise the quality of the dogs on the end of our lead. So let's settle in, turn the volume up, and let's see if we can't learn a trick or two together from our guests.
Told my dad, I said, hey, there's a pretty good dog in Full Cry for sale. And I said, it's Streak Jr. in Georgetta, which I didn't know that much about him other than I knew there was a really good cross back then. There was a lot of good dogs out of it. I said, Kenny Smith out in Indiana has him. I said, you want to go with me to try him out? And my dad's like, sure. He said, I'll go out with you. So we went out, and when we got out there, visited Kenny for a little bit, and we finally went hunting. And like most of my cur, I had a little cur dog, another cur dog before, and they kind of hunted like cur dogs, like people think they hunted, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But when Kenny cut Thunder loose, I mean, it was like, man, he was like full blast down the fence row in the woods and was treed like probably maybe a minute. He was treed. We went in and he had a squirrel. And I think we made 7 or 8 trees. I think 8 trees and saw 7 squirrels in like an hour and 20 minutes. And he was like a really good tree dog, really hard hunting dog. And my dad, we always hunted coon dogs and had hounds. And my dad's like, yeah, he said, that's the dog that you need to buy. He said, if you want a good dog, he said, a dog that hunts like that and 7 for 8, he said, that's the dog we need to buy. So that's what we did. We bought him and brought him home and hunted from then.
How old did you say he was? Whenever you got him?
He was either 4 or going to be 4 when I bought him. I bought him in I think it was 1992 we got him. I think I'd have to look on my calendar. I had a calendar with all the notes when I talked to Kenny and questioned him about him, and I had all those little notes wrote down. So I kept them for a long time, but I'm not sure what I done with that calendar. But I think it was in 1992 when we bought him, somewhere right in there.
I gotcha. Well, everybody, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Slick Tree Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Langford, and this is another episode of the Good Old Dog series. And today we've got Alan Franklin with us, and we're talking about Franklin's Thunder. How you doing tonight, Alan?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well.
Good.
So that was the story about when you went and picked him up. So had he been squirrel and coon hunted quite a bit, or?
Had Thunder?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he'd ever been coon hunted any when Kenny got him, because I think he mostly just squirrel hunted out. And Kenny had hunted him in some hunts and done some stuff like that with him and won some hunts and a few things like that with him. But he just squirrel hunted him. And Kenny's like a really good dog person. And once he gets them trained and pretty well the where he wants them, then he's ready to move on and start another one. And I guess that's how we got lucky to have the opportunity to purchase him.
I gotcha. So did you end up coon hunting him?
I did, yes. Actually, I won some coon hunts with him. He was a lot better squirrel dog than he was a coon dog, because when he treed a squirrel, I mean, he almost always knowed where the squirrel was. If you would pay attention, like a lot of dogs stands on a tree, and Thunder didn't. Thunder always stood underneath the squirrel, wherever the squirrel was. But usually, if he saw the squirrel, he would be looking at it. If you look where he was looking, that's pretty close to where the squirrel was, or where he at least saw it last. But he was fine. He was an okay coon dog. Hunted like you needed to for coon and everything. He probably didn't trail up too many cold trails and tree him. I mean, he had a good nose on him, but he just didn't, and we just didn't do a lot of coon hunting with him, but we did coon hunt him, a good bit, because we coon hunted a lot back then.
Yeah. What was his range like in his prime? Like whenever you'd take him hunting, and you cut him out. Kind of tell us what a normal hunt would consist of with him.
whenever you cut him loose, didn't matter. He was going to go get treed and find a squirrel somewhere. It wasn't like, if you wasn't going to have to worry about him not treeing somewhere. You might as well take a gun and shells with you and plan on walking, whether it was going to be 50 yards or 800 yards. I mean, he was going to go find a squirrel somewhere and get treed and have a squirrel almost every time. He was a real accurate dog, really good eyes, always having a squirrel, good tree dog, stand at the tree or around the tree all the time.
I gotcha. What was his handle like?
What was what?
What was his handle like?
Never put a leash on him. If you go ready to leave a tree or whatever. Now, the only thing that I train all my dogs to do this. The only thing that we do is, like, I don't make my dogs heel. Like, I'll put the lead strap on them, and then I can let go of the lead strap, and they stay with me. And the only reason I do that kind of is so that if we're competition hunting, if you kind of make them heel sometimes, then if they think you want them to heel, then you're not allowed to tell them to go hunting in a competition hunt. So my rule was, if you don't have a lead strap on you, you better get going.
Gotcha.
And he handled perfect. And one good thing about he does is, if you hunted him in a 10-acre woods, he hunted at 10-acre woods. He didn't go across fields. Now, I've had some other dogs out of him that would go across fields or whatever, but he was not. If you hunted him in 1,000-acre woods, he hunted 1,000-acre woods. He didn't go across roads or fields and stuff like that, but whatever you hunted him in, that's how he hunted.
I gotcha.
So, I mean, you could hunt him around little towns and small woods and not have any trouble with him at all. He was a good handling dog, minded good. I never put a lead strap on him very often, other than just to come out of the woods.
I gotcha. What's the training and everything like where you're at and where you hunt at most of the time?
It's kind of like I always tell everybody, it's like little West Virginia. We don't have no mountains, but we have all hills, strip mine land, cut out timber. We don't have very good hunting around here at all.
Sounds pretty rough.
North of me we do, like up around Columbus and Dayton and up in there, real nice hunting. All fox squirrels, level cornfields. We probably, in our whole county, probably wouldn't beat 150 acres of corn.
I gotcha.
It's not green at all. It's all mostly cattle, horses, stuff like that. It's for farming, that kind of farmland.
Mm-hmm. What were some of Thunder's accomplishments he had in the hunts?
We had a WTDA world champion, I think New York State champion, Michigan State champion, Maryland. I have to look on my Facebook page. Maryland State champion. He was a UKC squirrel champion, WTDA grand squirrel champion, bench champion, night champion. I have to look on this one Facebook to get all of them, but I won. Back then, there wasn't a ton of different world hunts like there is nowadays. We had WTDA World Hunt, National Kern Feist World Hunt, and then I didn't even know. I mean, I kind of knew OMCBA existed back then, but Alan wasn't going to drive 9 hours to a hunt. That was like crazy back when Thunder was young.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays it's like a hop, skip, and a jump for everybody.
Yeah.
No big deal. But we didn't have a ton of places to hunt. Coon hunts other than just WTDA. NKC. NKC was around here. That's about the only two things we had around here back then. And he was championed out in all of them. NKC, WTDA, and stuff like that.
What can you tell us about Thunder as a reproducer?
I mean, easily, he's one of my best reproducers. Probably one of the best in the country, comparing him to the percentage and number of times he was bred. When you live in Ohio, people doesn't drive forever to breed to your squirrel dogs, and you're not going to drive from Tennessee to Ohio to breed to Thunder when you had Smith Streak and Streak Jr. and all those dogs down there in Tennessee and down south. You're just not going to do that. Almost every dog that I bred him to, which I probably didn't breed him over. I had 3 females. I think I had 3 females back then. I had Julie, Nene, and a couple of other females I had. But that's all the females I had back then. And then I wouldn't breed to over 2 or 3 outside dogs a year is all I would ever breed to. And I mean, if you just look around how many Thunder dogs there is in pedigrees, I mean, he was a really good reproducer. I mean, high percentage of his dogs turned out. I think there was 5 or 6 of them were world champions. I guess I should have had all that stuff looked up and had that wrote down, but I never even thought about all that stuff. But anyway, yeah, he was like a really, really, really good reproducer.
Yeah. What you're still hunting stuff that goes back to him, aren't you?
Well, actually, they're all Thunder or Razor is half Thunder Sport, which Thunder Sport was out of Thunder, but he's on both sides. He's half Thunder Sport on both sides, so he's still half Thunder Sport. Actually, every dog, I don't have nothing that don't have Thunder in it, unless I have a female that's. I've got one, my Whitney female. I guess she does go way back. She's got some Thunder in her too, but all my male dogs still has as much Thunder in them as I can get.
What type of breeding strategies have you been using that have been working for you?
I guess my favorite is half brother, half sister cross. I've done that a lot with Thunder and Thunder Sport. I've done that a lot with those two. A little bit now, I've kind of switched over and I breed them a little bit closer so that I can kind of don't lose all that blood. I've done father daughters a few times, but that's it's worked for me a couple times, and a couple times it didn't work for me. But I really like to do like grandfather to granddaughter and half brother, half sister crosses is like probably, if I had to only do one, that's my favorite.
Gotcha. Have you done much, just out of curiosity, of how far have you gotten into the line breeding? I know that you just kind of said that you've got dogs that are doubled up on Thunder Sport. Have you like quadrupled and tripled up?
Nah, I don't do that a whole bunch. Probably the tightest that I've got, like I said, the tightest that I've ever done is like father daughter.
Gotcha.
I haven't done, I've done a couple brothers and sisters. It was all right, but I wasn't overly impressed with it. They were fine. They were squirrel dogs, but they weren't special dogs. I try to figure out what's working and what I can get and get some special dogs out of each cross. That's what I really like to do.
So, like, say if you take one of your males, what are you looking for in a female if you're looking for something with outside genetics? What is there any certain line
without my genetics?
Mm-hmm.
I try to figure out, for one thing, like, I think the number one thing is you have to admit what's wrong with your dog and what's good about your dog.
Mm-hmm.
If my dog lacks in hunting, then I want to make sure if I'm going to breed to a female that helps that. If they lack in treeing, then I want to make sure that's what you have to figure out. There's people that always make excuses for their dogs instead of saying, well, okay, I need to fix that. And that's how you fix it, by breeding, whatever complements your dog to make your dog better. That's what I always look for. You're always looking for more hunt. You're always looking for, louder dogs. You're always looking for better tree dogs. You're always looking for more accurate dogs. So, I try to, like, all the females I got now they're like I don't have any dogs. I don't have any just bird females.
Mm-hmm.
I have all my females I have now most of them are almost now getting to be all squirrel champions and night champions and stuff like that. They're all good squirrel dogs or good coon dogs or both.
Gotcha. Am I thinking right? Have you been running to some PKC hunts with curs?
I did a little tiny bit, but not too much. We don't have any PKC hunts right here, really.
Or some, maybe
when
some
I
other
had
hound
Kane,
organization.
I did him a little bit because there was some about 40 miles from me, and I did that a little bit. But back then, they had CHKC hunts, which is just like PKC hunts. I hunted some of my coon dogs in those against the hounds and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Now, when Thunder, I don't even know if, like I said, I'm sure PKC was around, but they probably wouldn't even let you hunt curs with the hounds back when I had Thunder. I'm guessing they might have. I don't know.
What can you tell us about how you got your start with dogs and with mountain curs?
I got started out. Like I said, my dad, we always used to hunt hounds and stuff all the time, and then we got into my dad's line of hounds. My dad's not a real good. He don't breed dogs and stuff a lot, so he kind of let his hounds get away from him, and they got into the competition hounds, and we just couldn't find nothing that we liked. And Jim Hatchard had a cur dog over here, a mountain cur, registered mountain cur, and I don't know what possessed me to go buy, but me and my grandpa went over and bought him, and I called him Blue Ghost. He was out of some of George Toots' dogs, which that goes back to Thunder's mother. That's what I originally started out, which was the same bloodline as Thunder's mother, Georgetta. And he was like a real good combo dog, good squirrel dog, good coon dog. Didn't have quite the hunt that I liked in him, but that's kind of how I got started in it. And then they got to treeing squirrels, and I'm like, hey, this is just like coon hunting, except it's in the daytime and you can see where you're going. And that's kind of like how we got into the cur dogs. And then we went and bought Thunder, and everything just kind of went from there. I mean, everybody liked him, and we liked him, and every time I bred him, whatever pup I kept out of him was good. I mean, it was like the real deal. So I'm like, he might be a pretty good reproducer.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of started pushing him a little bit, and then I got to go into a few more hunts, and then I started hunting the pups out of him, and the boys kept hunting him in hunts and kept winning with him, and that's kind of how we got started doing all that with the cur dogs.
Yeah. What works for you when you're starting dogs out of your line? What methods you like to use?
The easiest way is I used to have an Amish boy that let him run loose on his farm all the time, and we didn't do anything. I mean, I don't have any special tricks for training, getting my puppies started. All my really good ones, they all started by themselves, and they just did it. I mean, I used to take them up to the Amish boys and let them run loose till they're about 6 or 7 months old, and he'd call and tell me they were treeing, and I went and got them and started hunting them. And I'm not like a great dog trainer. I used to be. I'm getting too old to really hunt good now anymore. But I used to be like a really good hunter. I wasn't a great trainer. If you give me one that started running and treeing, I can make it. If it don't want to run and tree, then sometimes I struggle with that if they didn't want to. Like I said, I'm not a real great dog trainer, but I'm a really good hunter. I know how to finish dogs out and get them going and doing the thing that I want and the way that I want. And I hunted every day. I used to hunt every day and every night.
Well, you got any good tricks once one's going? What are some things you like to do to get them ready for a comp circuit?
We do, and I learned a lot of that stuff that I do from Kenny Smith and some stuff like that. Getting them to hunt farther. We take them, and sometimes, and to get them to hunt harder and get them to going deeper is maybe like a young dog. You start out and turn them loose 50 yards from the woods, and then once you get them to going that far and treeing, you just keep getting farther and farther back. Or, it's easy around here. What really works good around here, we don't have a bunch of fields, but is we'll turn them down fence rows, trails, some things like that. Because dogs they'll hunt harder if they go out a ridge or go up a creek or go down a creek or, up the valley or whatever, fence rows. It seems like they'll shoot in there harder and go deeper when you do stuff like that with them.
Yeah. So are you a tie 'em at every tree kind of hunter? Or?
I used to. I really did. I used to tie them all the time. And then an old guy told me a long time ago, and I thought this really, really made sense, is if you go into your puppy and it's treeing really good, why tie it up? As soon as it stops treeing or gets down to mill around, then tie it up. And that way the puppy's like, oh, if I don't stay on the tree, I got to be tied up. And I kind of do that, and that seems like to have worked really good for me. I mean, I've done that for a long time, but I had one of the old guys up here tell me that. He's like, if they're staying on a tree and doing good, why do you tie them? I'm like, well, because my dad always told me to, and that's what everybody always says. But he's like, well, just think about it. And it seems to work that way. And you do end up tying them almost all the time. You know how puppies are. Once you get there, they'll stop. And you do end up, and I do. As soon as they come off the tree for anything, then I tie them, put them on the tree, pet them, make over them. But that works really good for me.
Yeah. You got any other good stories about Thunder when he was hunting anytime?
We had another one with my dad, which my dad don't squirrel hunt a ton. Like I said, my dad was a crazy coon hunter. I mean, he coon hunted for work. But after we had Thunder there, I think we got him like maybe at the beginning of the season or maybe before season come in. But anyway, when that Thanksgiving come around, we always had vacation and everything, and it like snowed like 10 or 12 inches of snow, and it was like 15 degrees out. And I called my dad one morning. It was about 8:30. I said, let's go squirrel hunting. I said, we'll take Thunder and go. And he's like, no way. He said, it's like cold. He said, you ain't going to tree nothing. I said, oh, come on. I said, he never fails me. He always trees a squirrel. I said, we'll kill a squirrel or two. And we went up down the road about 4 or 5 miles from our house, and there's a big long ridge. We parked 2 vehicles, which it usually take about an hour to walk through out that ridge and down to the other truck. We started in there, and we ended up, and the sun came out. You know how when the sun comes out, how squirrels does. And now it never warmed up any. I think the warmest it got that day was like 22 degrees. But the sun kind of came out, and we started out that ridge, and he started treeing squirrels. And when we got out of there, we killed 12 squirrels in like 45 or 50 minutes. Mm. And when we got out, my dad's like, no way. He said, I cannot believe we treed that many squirrels on this day. And most of them was pretty close. One time he went about 700 or 800 yards on one and got treed, but the rest of the time was just like 100 yards, 125 yards, 50 yards. And he was as good as any dog I've ever owned at that. Like, you can turn him off of a tree, and I've seen him go, I mean, literally, I've seen him go like 5 yards in the tree and have another squirrel.
Yeah.
I mean, he was really good at, like, when you take him off. Some of my dogs, and maybe because I trained them to be competition dogs, when you turn them loose, I mean, they're going, and they probably ain't even looking for a squirrel for 200 yards. But he was not. I mean, he was a squirrel dog all day, any day, no matter what kind of weather it was. He was a squirrel dog.
Was he pretty naturally independent, or is that something you had to work on with him?
I never done anything about it because I didn't even know that. I didn't know that much about that anymore. He would go check another dog out, but if he treated his own squirrel, then he stayed there. It didn't bother him. He would tree with another dog. If nothing was going on or they were close together, he would go to them and tree, or maybe they would be together and tree or whatever. But if he treed, he would stay treed. He would stay treed by himself. I mean, he didn't have no trouble with any of that stuff like that. I never done anything to him. I didn't have no shocking collars or nothing back then. Everything we did was wore out boots and a lot of 22 shells is all we done to train our dogs back then. We didn't do a lot of, making them stay here, or make them do that, or make them go here. We just hunted our dogs back then. Mm-hmm. Then another hunt, which was when Thunder won the world hunt. My son was 13, Brad. I think he was 12 or 13, and he hunted Thunder. I don't know. I forget what. I think I might have hunted a little female called Sandy, which was a streak female, and my other boy, I forget what he hunted. But anyway, I think it ended up being, there was 50 or 50 some dogs there, I think. Anyway, it ended up being 4 rounds. And the last round, he made it to the last round, and the landing boys up here at Cambridge was a guide, and I asked Brad, I said, do you want me to go with you? And he's like, you don't have to if you don't want to. And I said, fine. I said, if you got this, I said, I'm good with it. So he went hunting, and when they come back in, he hunted, Thunder was like 8 or 9 then, I think. And them other 2 dogs, one was 2 and one was 3. And which Thunder was tough. I mean, he never got tired. But I mean, like I said, I hunted every day and every night. But Tom Lanning said the last 2 times we turned out, he said the other 2 dogs almost quit. He said Thunder just kept going farther and farther and treeing more squirrels. And that's just, and all my dogs, Thunder, Thundersport, Kane, Bud, all my dogs are pretty tough. I mean, they don't get tired. They just keep going and going, and that's just the way they are. They're just tough dogs.
Yeah. So when you're hunting most of the time, are you walk hunting? Or are you just pretty much strictly casting them and then following them, or?
Anymore now. I used to do both, because there used to be land around here where I could park a vehicle. Like I had one woods there by the lake that it would take like 5 hours to hunt from one side to the other. I'd park my truck on one side and then drive around and then walk to my truck. But anymore, I've lost, I don't know, probably 50% of my good hunting or more. So anymore, I just drop hunt. I stop, put the tailgate down, put them out, and that's the way I hunt 90% of the time now. I don't hardly ever walk hunt anymore.
So did you ever get to hunt with Thunder's, any of the dogs he was out of?
No, I don't even know if anybody ever got to hunt with them. Streak Jr. and Georgetta.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Streak Jr. at Illinois at a hunt down there when Mr. Groves had him. I saw him there one time. I think Georgetta might have been down there too. I can't remember if it was if he had her or if Danny Wilkerson had her. But I even asked other people if they hunted with them, and I don't know anybody that ever hunted with them. I don't even know if they. I mean, I'm sure they treat squirrels and coons. I don't know, but I couldn't swear that they did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I never hunted with them, or I don't think they ever won anything with them or anything like that. That could be one of those times where everybody says you only breed good dogs to get good dogs. That might be one of those times that didn't work out for real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that much about. Like I said, I've seen them, each one of them. I saw them once or twice at Illinois. That's the only time I ever saw Mr. Groves. Was when I went out there at Illinois. He didn't go to no other places around. And I usually after I bought Thunder, then I try to talk to him every time I went out, and some of that stuff, and try to talk to them and keep in touch with him and how he was doing and everything. And then, but no, I never got to hunt with them at all.
So, how would you describe his nose style? I know earlier you said he wouldn't usually grub up an old coon track. So was he a little more hot nosed, maybe a little more of a winding nose style dog, or how would he hunt with these noses?
Yeah, I would say probably that would be more of a winding style probably. Go like I've seen him now he will. To be honest with you, he will work some back tricks. I have seen him do this. I guess this is a good story to tell. I just thought of it, but I've seen him before. Like if you turn him loose in a say 100-acre woods where you can kind of see it's kind of a clean woods when we used to go up north and hunt. I've seen him zoom through the woods, full blast as fast as he could run, and if he treed or got a hot squirrel, he would tree that. But then I've seen him come all the way, circle back around, and then where I first turned him loose, then you'll see him start smelling the ground, working around, and then go get treed. And I know after he done that several times, I'm and I told my buddy, I said, that dog when you turn him loose, he's looking for a hot squirrel or one that he can see. And he'll zoom through the woods, and then he remembers where the bad track is and goes and trees it. I've seen him do that lots of times, and I know that's what he did.
Hmm.
But I mean, I know for a fact that that's how he done that stuff like that. But to answer your question, I'm not sure that I think he could run a bad track, but I think mentally he wanted to tree stuff that he knew he could tree fast and quick.
Gotcha. When he was in his prime, what was his conformation like? If you pulled him out of the dog box getting ready to go hunt, what would you be looking at when you were sitting there staring at him?
42 pounds of solid muscle.
Brindle, have much white on him?
No, he had a little bit of white on each foot, a little bit in his chest, and a wee little white blaze. But no, not very much white.
Yeah,
kind of a dark, really shiny brindle.
Pretty fine coated.
Yeah, he was. Compared to some of my other dogs, yes, he was really fine coated. Yep.
Yeah. See, what about dew claws on him?
That's a trick question. Honestly, I can tell you every other dog that I've owned except him.
Does he normally?
Thundersport only had one on his back. Kane had like two on each side on the back. Bud had one on each one. Lone Ranger had two on one side and one on one side. But I can't tell you if Thunder had any on either side. I cannot tell you. I didn't care back then.
Yeah.
When I went and bought him, and I wasn't thinking, I was a hound guy.
Yeah.
It wasn't now. When I keep a puppy, I'm like, oh, I'm not keeping that puppy. It don't have dew claws. Or I'm not keeping that puppy. It don't have a natural bobtail. Whatever. Back then, I only went and bought him because he treated squirrels really good.
Gotcha.
I wasn't. The only thing I knew about being good was that I read in Full Cry that John Groves and them had Street Junior and Georgetta bred dogs that was winning everywhere. So when I called my dad, I'm like, hey, I said, I don't know that much about him, but man, I read about his brothers and everything that's winning everything. I said, we need to go look at him. And that's, I didn't care if he had dew claws. I didn't care if I wouldn't even have cared if he had a long tail at the time. Now I don't hate long tails, but at that time I probably wouldn't even have cared that part of it,
Yeah. How would you describe his head and his ear set?
His ears were probably a little bit down. Now that probably you just asked me about the ugliest part of him, because he kind of had a long nose, and at the time, like I said, I didn't care or anything. But now that after I look back at all my old pictures and my other dogs, you could probably say that he could probably put his nose down in a bottle or something, because he kind of had a long nose,
mm-hmm.
or a pointed nose or whatever, compared to all my other mountain curs that I've had out of him. I liked his ears. His ears didn't stand up. They kind of laid down a little bit. But, yeah, his nose was probably the ugliest part of him, in my opinion.
Well, what would you say that his biggest strength as a squirrel dog was? If you were looking back, if someone was doing research on what their dogs were out of, what would you say his biggest strengths as a dog, and what he threw? What are the biggest strengths that he had?
Hard hunting, winding ability, and good eyes. Well, I try to make sure I keep that in all my dogs. I want them to be able to use their nose and their eyes and hunt hard, and a good tree dog.
Yeah. You guys mostly have fox squirrels up there, or?
No, mostly gray squirrels.
Yeah. Yeah, if they're anything like ours, they're pretty flighty.
Yeah, actually, ours are not like the ones down south. They're bigger, and now they're a little bit wild, because like our fox squirrels, shoot, you can take the kids with you, and they can miss 10 times, and they just sit there until you shoot them. Mm-hmm. But our gray squirrels is a lot bigger than the squirrels down south.
I gotcha.
They're like, I thought they weren't until I started going to Missouri and Mississippi and a few places to hunt, and those little gray squirrels down there are crazy sometimes.
Oh, they're wild.
I know.
They're wild. I mean, you can't hardly get in the tree.
Like, you got to be ready to shoot going into the tree, not when you get to the tree.
If you hear them start barking, you better start running.
Exactly, I know. And ours are not quite that. They're nothing. They're not like that. But some of ours is probably twice as big as some as yours.
I see. Well, on that same note, what would his biggest weaknesses be?
His weaknesses, his mouth. As I bred him over the years, I knew that when I got him, and that's one thing that I really, really made sure that that you asked me about my females. That was one thing that a female had to have, or I wouldn't. I bred to a little female in Pennsylvania. The puppies were really good, but they had really bad mouths, and the guy wanted to breed again, and I told him no. I just did not want to do that. And if you hunt with any of my dogs or any of them, almost all of them have pretty nice mouths for cur dogs.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of picky about what I bred to, and that's why you have to be a little bit careful line breeding, because that can pop back up. I mean, and it did some. There's a few dogs that you'll see that don't have real good mouths, but I thought I'd done a pretty good job of keeping that part. That was his biggest. Actually, that was the only thing that I could say that I would like to change on him. If I could change it, with his mouth. Back then, I was young and I could hear him. I could hear him 400 or 500 yards. But nowadays, I probably couldn't.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a bit of trouble finding him or hearing him back then. But that was probably his biggest weakness, was his mouth.
What was his bark cadence like? Was it just a straight chop? Do you have a locator or anything like that?
No, just a regular cur dog bark. Not real hard tree dog. Probably 50, 60 barks a minute. You never had to wait on him. You never had to wait and see, oh, we're going to put the 2 minutes on him or whatever. It wasn't. You didn't have to do that. If you had to put the 2 minutes on him, you treat him too soon. You shouldn't have treated him yet.
Mm-hmm.
Another good thing, if you was hunting in a hunt and he was where you could see him and you seen him start jumping, you want to tree him on the first bark, because he has a red hot smoking squirrel somewhere, and he'll find it and have it within a few seconds.
You got any other good stories about him?
Oh yeah, this is kind of a cool one. It's not a really great story. I was Jim Hatcher. I don't know if you guys remember. You remember Jim Hatcher?
I don't believe I knew him.
He lives up this way. He was kind of back in our days, and me and Justin Hitchens and us guys, he was kind of like a dog trainer. He was a dog whisperer up this way. And we got to going hunting with him and going to his house, and then we hunted for fun and pleasure hunted. But anyway, one time we was in a squirrel hunt, and it was kind of funny. And we treated a couple squirrels, and we just cut loose. And like you was asking a minute ago, how good Thunder handled and minded. And we just cut loose, and I think Thunder made a little loop, went out in front of us about 50 yards, and then he made a circle to the left, and he came back in behind us. And just as he come behind us and got up in front of us, me and Jim, and I forget who the other guy was. I cannot remember him. I was trying to remember that when you tell me to try to think of some stories. But anyway, Thunder just came by us, and as soon as Thunder got by us, there was a squirrel, and it jumped from one tree to the other. Well, when it jumped, Jim Hatcher, I forget what he hollered. He hollered like, my goodness, he said, there's a squirrel, or there it goes, or something like that. As soon as he hollered, there it goes, Thunder turned around and seen the squirrel and treed in 3 seconds. And then another time on that same day, me and Jim was hunting, and Thunder got in about 400 or 500 yards, and he was treed. And like I said, we hunted a lot together, pleasure hunted for fun. And we got in and treed, and I was looking, and Thunder was really treeing. I mean, a little bit harder than normal. And Jim's walking in. He said, there'll be a squirrel there. He said, there's no way there ain't. Well, we got there, and we looked, and we couldn't find a squirrel nowhere. And Jim's like, there's no way. He said, that squirrel is here someplace. And he said, look at him. And I said, what? He's like, he's just sitting there treeing and looking in the same spot. And Jim walked over right when Thunder was sitting about 10 feet back off the tree, sitting there and looking up. And Jim walked over beside him, and he looked up. He said, come here, Alan. I said, what? And we walked over there, and that squirrel's tail was hanging out a hole, and Thunder was sitting there looking at that squirrel's tail all that time. And Jim's like, I knew he had that squirrel, he said. But yeah, those were a couple hunts with my old buddy Jim. We did that.
You'd mentioned kind of before we started recording that you wish you'd have done a couple things different after the fact than knowing what you know now, what are some things you learned from Thunder and the whole experience you had with him?
One thing, the main thing I would have done was I would have got him collected, semen collected, and saved on him and done all that stuff. But heck, back then, that was either rich guys done that or you never even hardly ever heard of it, very seldom, So I would have probably done that. And he kind of taught us how to be competition hunters, turn him loose, go get treed, stay treed, hunt hard, go deep. And he even kind of like taught us, like, he knew where squirrels was. You could turn him loose in a crappy place, and if he had to go 500 yards to where the squirrels was and get in, so then you're like, oh, so we keep treeing in these kind of trees all the time, so we need to be hunting in these kind, and he kind of like taught us all that stuff. Like I said, I had a couple little other squirrel dogs, but they just treed squirrels. They weren't real squirrel dogs. Once we got him, then we was like, okay, we need to do this a little more serious. And he just kind of like, we just kind of learned everything off of him, how we should do stuff, how we could fix it and make it better so we could have done better, But the breeding part of it is what the biggest thing that I would have changed different, getting some semen saved on him. And, I mean, how sweet would it have been to have a few straws of Thunder to bred to my dogs that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet to do all that. So that's kind of about the only thing that I would have really done a big time difference. And I would have went to a lot more hunts. I would have loved to have taken him to Jamestown and hunted. I would have loved to went to Jamestown and hunted against, I'm guessing it was probably Streak or Mountain, probably Streak back then. I don't know if it had been Mountain Jackson or not to hunt against them. Never got an opportunity to hunt against the Jukebox. We hunted in some hunts together. We just never drew out together or never made it to the cast together to hunt against each other. I've judged Jukebox a lot and all that stuff, but I never got to hunt Thunder against him, and that's kind of one thing I wouldn't have minded to have done one time.
Yeah.
One thing you can do, like when you take Thunder hunt to a hunt, if you drew out and you knew your dog, the other guy's dog wasn't hunting, you could hunt Thunder where there wasn't very many squirrels, and he would go get treed somewhere. If you drew out with a dog that hunted really hard but didn't tree a lot of squirrels, you could hunt where there was a lot of squirrels, and Thunder would tree a lot of squirrels. And I was in one time in Kentucky on that exact same situation. We was down in Kentucky for the Kentucky State Hunt, and I think there was like 35 or 40 minutes left in the hunt, and I'm down 400. I think it was like 200 to 600, I think is what it was, something like that. But I know I was 400 points behind, and in those 40 minutes, Thunder came from 400 behind and outscored them dogs 600 points, and I won the state hunt. And when I got done, and I know you probably can know all these guys' names, but I can't remember his name either. But he shook my hand. He said, "Man," he said, "no, that's a real squirrel dog."
That'd be a good feeling, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was almost ready to give up, But then he started one of those things where that guy that guided me, a really good guide. He put us, when we started down through that woods, Thunder probably treed every 50 or 60 yards. We'd get him off of that tree and cut him loose, and he'd just go like 50 or 60 yards and tree again and tree again and tree again until we come out. Anyway, we come back, and he outscored him in those 40 minutes, outscored him 600 points.
Out of all the dogs that you've bred out of him, which ones have been your favorite as far as which one?
Thunder Sport, that's an easy one.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
What was he like?
He was just like everything great, all around everything. I mean, he liked me the most of all. Like, he liked me more than any other dog, and I liked him more than any other dog. So that means he wanted to do everything for me, and I wanted to, but that's when I was really hammering the hunts and doing everything. But you could take Sport, and you could spot hunt him. If he knew he was spot hunting, ever how far he needed to go, he'd go tree. But then I could hunt in that woods that I was telling you about that took us 4 or 5 hours to hunt through it.
Mm-hmm.
And he would check in, like if he knew I was walking, he would check in like every 5 or 10 minutes. And he would never be crazy out of pocket or anything when he knew you was spot hunting and killing squirrels.
I gotcha.
And there was nothing I didn't like. I mean, some people might not have liked him as good as Thunder, but there was nothing about Thunder Sports that I didn't like. I mean, I liked him. I liked him really good. I mean, he was one of my favorites.
What did you say he was out of?
He was out of Thunder Sport. Oh yeah. He was out of Thunder, and her name ended up. It was used when we bred it. It was Northland Nene, but it ended up being Jukebox Mountain State Jukebox Nene or something like that. She was out of. She was Jukebox bred out of a female, and which that's what Thunder crossed. Thunder and Jukebox crossed. I mean, anytime we made that cross, it was always an exceptional good cross every time. I ended up buying a Jukebox female called Jukebox Julie that I bred to Thunder, and I didn't like those puppies. I had some really good ones, my Lone Ranger dog and Rattler dog, and I didn't like them almost as much as Thunder Sport, but overall, that was my best cross ever with Thunder, was probably Jukebox Julie. I couldn't even tell you how many outstanding dogs came out of that cross. I mean, I owned 4 of them and made them champions before I sold them out of 4 different crosses. I mean, but I made every time she came in here, I bred her to him. Because, like I said, I didn't have very many females back then. Yeah, that was. But Thunder Cross was really good with. And we still make good crosses nowadays. Thunder and stuff cross back with Jukebox. I mean, actually, that's what my Razor dog's out of a Jukebox female, and Thunder Sport. So it's just it just keeps working good with me all the time.
Yeah. How many dogs do you keep?
Now, or how many did I usually keep?
Both of them.
Now I don't have. Actually, I've got Kelly and Derek Vion. I've been having some trouble with my knees, so I haven't been able to hunt. I've only been to 2 hunts this year, but they've been doing all my hunting for me. But I only have probably 4 or 5 females, and then I have Razor and Demon is what I have, and then they hunt my 4 young dogs. I got Rooster, Allie, Pip, and what's the other one? And they had Hawk over there hunting him. Those are my 4 young dogs that I got coming on. It's pretty nice dogs. But I used to be, I would have 15 or 20 dogs sometimes.
Yeah.
But I had me, and then I had a couple buddies that helped me hunt, and I had my 2 sons that hunted, and I could hunt 5 or 6 dogs a day because they would all hunt by themselves. Then my boys got married and they started getting kids, and then they didn't hunt as many. My buddies got old and passed away, and now it's just me and my grandson right now. It's hunting, and like I said, Kelly and Derek keeping me in the woods and in the hunts right now.
Well, Alan, I sure do appreciate you agreeing to come on and give us your time for this interview, which we got a little bit more time. But I just wanted to be sure and thank you before we got off here for that.
Yeah, I'm glad you called and glad we can talk.
Yeah, you got any other good stories to close us out on?
I guess I got one story when Thunder was old, and just to show you how tough he really was, I ended up taking him. I think I took him with Thunder Sport and my Rattler dog. Those were like 2 of the first big dogs that came off of Thunder when I was raising him, was Thunder Sport and Blue Rattler. And you see those names on all the puppy papers. Blue Rattler ended up with Jerry Vincent out in, I think Missouri's where Jerry's from. But Jerry ended up having him until he died. He was a blue dog. But anyway, I was pushing him really hard. And I mean, at the time, both of those were top-notch young dogs. And Thunder was pretty old. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was like 13 or 14, but he was old, starting to slow down some. And we cut him loose, and the young dogs treat here and there, and Thunder treat. And then they shot way in there, and the 2 young dogs, they were like 600 or 700, 800 yards, and we're going to them. And on the way to them, like thunder treed 2 squirrels, and we killed 2 squirrels going to them. And I forget, my buddy was with me, and he's like, yeah, he said the old man might not have to go quite as far, but he said he still trees more squirrels than them. And that was the last time I really hunted. I took him out a few times as he got older, just to say that I treated a squirrel with him when he was 15, and I treated a squirrel when he was 16, but that was one of the last times that we really took him out to go hunting, and we killed some squirrels. We ended up killing like 6 or 7 squirrels that day, but he done good. But I thought that was pretty cool, all them young dogs like zooming around there, and he's like treeing squirrels in behind him all the time.
Yeah. How long did he end up living?
I think he was either almost 16 or he was 16. Like 15 and a half, I think maybe what he was.
Yeah.
I'd have to look and see when his birthday was. But and he bred, I had puppies, when he died, I had puppies, I think they was like 8 weeks old out of him, 8 or 9 weeks old.
Really? Well, Alan, once again, thank you. I think we're about out of time.
Okay.
I've really enjoyed talking dogs with you, and I think everybody's going to enjoy listening to it.
All right, like I said, thanks for calling me, and kind of good to sit down and talk about it. I haven't talked about thunder for a while, so that was I liked it.
Yeah. Well, everybody, take care and keep wearing out that boot leather.
All right, you too. All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alan.
I just want to give everyone that's listening a sincere thank you. Getting this podcast going has been a project. I really hope you're enjoying it, and if you don't mind, give the show a good rating and review wherever you're listening to it at, or share it on your social media to help get some traction. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to your feedback.